Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this emergency live. And since the last time I've gone live a few days ago, so much has happened around the world. We have found out brand new things about Kamala. We have we have found out a lot of brand new things about the presidential race, what the Democrats are planning. There's also a country, and you know this country, it's in South America, Venezuela. There was an election there 2 days ago. It looked very similar to how our election looked in 2020. A lot of questions, people in uproar, nothing makes sense. The numbers are like, what? Where did these voters come from? Except they're not sitting back and watching. It's easy to vote your way into communism and socialism, but you can't vote your way out. You have to fight your way out, and we're going to cover all of that in just a moment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as you're in, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, share this with your friends, make sure you're subscribed, leave a comment letting me know you're with me, you see me, you hear me, and I got to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that is Midas Gold Group. Ladies and gentlemen, they are printing billions and billions of dollars every day and sending them overseas to countries that have nothing to do with you. And then they tax you to get that printed money back. And the number one way to secure and ensure your IRAs and 401ks is through physical, tangible, in your hands, biblical and constitutional money, gold and silver. And Midas Gold Group does just that. And you can get free silver and qualifying orders when you tell them Vlad sent you. So go to MidasGoldGroup.com or text Vlad to the number 232-425 or call them at 480-360-3000. Again, mention Vlad, get free silver and qualifying orders. Let's get right into the first part of the video. This is something about Kamala Harris and some leaks that are happening. Interns at Kamala Harris' office ordered not to look in her eyes. That privilege was only reserved for senior staffers. A letter penned in November 2019 by the father of a Kamala Harris intern is making the rounds again. This California Democrat reported how Kamala Harris threw F-bombs around all day and battered her staff. The father also said his son, the intern, was told to never look Kamala in the eyes. This was a privilege reserved only for senior staffers. Ladies and gentlemen, look at her face right there. Look at her face. She thinks she's better than you. She thinks she's holier than you. She thinks you are nothing more than subhuman. And look at her. She split her legs to the top. She never worked a day in her life. Her entire income, her whole life, was either off sugar daddies, right? Or a taxpayer-funded paycheck. So she's done nothing, but yet she thinks she's holier than thou. And maybe you're a Democrat or somebody thinking about voting for Kamala. Think about this. Do you want a sociopath that thinks she's better than everyone around and you're not even worthy to look in her eyes, even if you work for her, to be the president? The worst thing a nation can do is make a person that's full of pride their leader. There are examples of this, Venezuela, and we're about to get into that. Now, we're going to go on to the next story. Really quickly, I do want to share this. It is primary election day in Arizona. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in Arizona, Kari Lake, Jerome Davison for Congress, vote, vote, vote. New poll shows Kari Lake cruising to victory in Arizona. So the poll, which was conducted by the Phoenix-based research firm Noble Predictive Insight, NPI from July 22nd to 23rd showed Kari Lake leading by double digits among likely Republican voters. Lake is, though, sitting at the coveted 50% threshold if the election were held today. And Lamb only at 38%. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in Arizona, do the rest of the nation a great favor. Kari Lake, Jerome Davison. Jerome Davison, I think even if Kari Lake doesn't squeeze through, Jerome Davison, he's the man. He's the guy. I personally know him. He's a pastor. He's a friend, former NFL player. He's humble. He loves this country. He loves his district. He loves his state. Jerome Davison for Congress. Get him in. Arizona, counting on you. Let's go right here. Now we're going to talk about Venezuela and what I think this can represent for globalism, for satanic one world order. We got November 5th coming up, ladies and gentlemen. God forbid it goes to this and this nation. But let's look at Venezuela. Venezuela Civil War Watch. Trendelano, gang leader, issues dire warning to Maduro regime's security forces to stand down or face consequences. So, one of the biggest, most violent gangs there in Venezuela is now taking sides with the people and going against their dictator, telling him to step down, telling him, we saw what you did, we see what you're doing. We're going to watch some of these videos of stuff that's going on.
Buenas noches, pueblo de Venezuela. Este video se lo hacemos para hacer un llamado a las Fuerzas Armadas y las Fuerzas Públicas del Estado. Nosotros no queremos generar más violencia.
Now we're going to jump to Twitter, and I'm going to show you how this all began and how it's going. So on election night, Maduro, whatever the dude's name is, their dictator, was losing, and he was losing bad. I mean, he was losing, like, there were some places where they were coming out and saying he's losing, he's only getting maybe 28, 30% of the vote. I mean, only just like, in some places, he was only getting 5% of the vote, right? And there were a couple districts where Maduro got 0% of the vote, literally zero. So, we have Millie calling him out. Breaking, Argentinian President Javier Milei has issued a statement confirming that Venezuela's socialist president Nicolas Maduro has lost and that Argentina will not recognize another fraudulent election. So 2 nights ago, it's election night. They have their socialist dictator. Am I pushing against Kari Lake? Oh, hold on. No, I'm for Kari Lake. But I do have a question that I want to ask Kari Lake. And if you're in Arizona, please, maybe someone. Here's what I saw online. Your guys' sheriff. I don't remember his name. He's what's his name? You guys know who I'm talking about. That Arizona former sheriff, Trump supporter. I mean, he's been serving as sheriff for like 20 years. Kari Lake, when she was running for governor, told him publicly, you need to run for Senate. Then her election was stolen from her. He jumped in. He was already in the race for Senate. And then Kari Lake runs for Senate after telling him to run, the sheriff to run for Senate. Then they had a debate on live TV, and she called him a traitor to Arizona. That's it. She gave no context. How was he a traitor? From what I know and from everyone I've spoke to, people in Arizona love this sheriff. He gave his life He risked his life multiple times at the border against a cartel in Arizona. Then Kari Lake tells him to run for Senate. Then she runs against him and then calls him a traitor. I don't know. I have questions. Now, like I said, the only person in this race that I personally know and can vouch for his dedication, things past what I saw on TV or heard from people, is Jerome Davison. You guys know I've had him on the show. I flew to Arizona to meet him before to make sure he's legit. I brought him on the show several times. Guy is not purchased. Guy is not bought off by big pharma or big bucks or the rhinos. So I about Kari Lake, I only know what I can see online and TV. And what I saw was she told him to run, then she runs against him, and then on the debate, she calls him a traitor and a coward, which was to me like, okay, can you give me context? How was he a traitor? How was he a coward? This dude stood up to the cartel. All right, let's get back to Venezuela. So the election starts happening, and then they had then their dictator has armed thugs with masks, with guns and knives, go to polling locations and steal the ballot boxes, just with all the ballots before they can finish counting. And then he tells his TV anchors to stop telling what the numbers are and what the numbers that are coming in are. And then he takes the stage and declares victory and says, we're done counting. Now there have been, for the last 2 days, riots, protests, and bloodshed. It's easy to vote yourself into socialism, but you can't vote your way out. You have to fight, fight, fight. Ladies and gentlemen, this next election in America, I believe, is the final normal election where we can either vote Trump in by a landslide, or we're going to have to fight our way out of socialism, communism, and sociopaths in the White House. Breaking. Venezuelan opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez officially declares victory against socialist president. Right? And then he says the results are undeniable. The country chose a peaceful change. And this is Venezuela. Listen to this. Venezuelans erupting cheers after election officials announce, this is all the night of the election, the 28th, announces that socialist president Nicolas Maduro received 0 votes at that voting center. Listen to this. So people are cheering. This is 2 nights ago. People are celebrating. And then, bam, breaking. The Venezuelan National Guard has been deployed in cities across the country in anticipation of the official election results from the National Election Council. So and this is still before he declared himself victor. And Maduro is trying to cheat. Here's another one. Breaking. Venezuelan socialist dictator Maduro just gave approval to his military and police to arrest innocent opposition voters. This is happening in Táchira right now. Maduro will not give up power without shedding innocent blood. Keep praying for the people of Venezuela. Then look at this picture. Breaking. Election workers at the tabulation center of Venezuela just accidentally posted a picture of election results across various states showing a historic defeat of the socialist president, Nicolas. So this is his team taking a selfie. Hey, look at us. Woo! We're doing the work of a socialist president. Look. Then when you look at the picture, the red is the socialist dictator. The blue is the new guy. Look at the screens. Barely any red. Barely. So, right, his own team. And then they start, but people, of course, screenshotted this, like George. But they started deleting this up everywhere. Breaking. Supporters of Venezuela's socialist president Nicolas Maduro went from celebration to complete. Now, this is when the results started coming in. These are the supporters at a, watch party for the Venezuelan dictator, because they're like, I'm not going to get my free checks every month now. Look at them. Almost not there. Does that look like people that are winning an election? Then he comes out and starts making, like, hey, I won. But here, then they cheat. He declares himself winner. Opposition party starts saying, what are you guys doing? People start coming out like other presidents, even here, our own illegitimate White House staff, even they're like, dude, too obvious. Now we have to condemn you doing that when we did the same thing. Oh my goodness. Here he is celebrating. Jackson Hinkle, this dude, screw him. He's over there in Venezuela celebrating with the dictator for stealing an election and saying, yeah. But El Salvador president issues statement saying they will not recognize the election. Then their dictator comes out and says Elon Musk is spreading fake information on Twitter. People all over the country are tearing down portraits of him. They're tearing down statues of him. This is people protesting in the street. Look at all these people dragging his picture to the floor. See, ladies and gentlemen, why did I want to talk about Venezuela today? It's easy to vote our country into a socialist, communist, far left, liberal regime. But you can't vote yourself out. You can't vote yourself out of communism, socialism, Marxism. You have to fight your way out. And that is the last thing we want to do, is see bloodshed. This is why. Let's not wait to election day to start praying and fasting. Let's start praying for our election day now, every day. For God's guidance, God's mercy, God's grace, and wisdom. I believe our God is not just the God of nature, but I believe he's the God of technology. I believe he, just like they manipulated certain ovens, the Domino's ovens in 2020, I believe he can not make sure that they don't manipulate them. When they press a button trying to change numbers, it's not working. I believe our God is that powerful. And we need to pray because it is a spiritual warfare before it is a physical. We need to start praying. Let's pray for the people of Venezuela so that they overcome this dictatorship, so that before it goes out into all-out chaos and war, he accepts the results of the election and steps down. The people have spoken. They've made the decision. Also, let's pray for our country so that our election goes smooth, so that we know who's going to win by how many more people will vote. We need to stop them from getting more paper ballots. And this is where prayer above all else, then be registered. Register your friends, co-workers, everybody your neighbors, your church members. Go talk to them. Make sure the elderly, the young 18-year-old kid that down the street, that they're registered. If they don't have a car, be the ride for them. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do this. We can make it too big, too rigged, and we can win. Make America great again and bring peace back to the world and to the United States of America. Thank you guys so much for your time. I am actually in the beautiful state of Wisconsin today. We're going to be driving down to Illinois on our way to New York. Going to go to Washington, D.C., hang up a couple of Trump 2024 lawn signs, stick them out there in front of the White House and, record it. Probably go live as I'm doing it. Should be fun. Stay tuned. I think it's going to be a very exciting time. Maybe might have to jog away from a few Marxists that might be out there, but it's okay. I run fast. Should be fun, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned. I'll keep you updated. Make sure you subscribe. Trump 2024 or sooner.